Top of the morning, Irish family, and Gia Huich. I'm with a very busy person right now, so the fact that you are taking a half hour today is pretty awesome. I am here with amazing theater director, Mrs. Jordan Fox, and thank you for being here.
Of course.
This is exciting.
Happy to be here.
So I just said how busy you are, and let me know what I'm missing, what you have to correct, because this is what I have. Obviously, theater director, about 5 rehearsals a week.
Yes.
Dance team coach or moderator, however that's phrased. Show choir, you're working with 2 to 3 times a week. Alliance Club, a couple times a month. And then Cathedral, I believe started last year. We do a communities of practice where basically small groups for teachers to join and talk about different interests that kind of better themselves as people, educators, our community. And so you're leading one of those. You are mental health and social emotional wellness COP, which I'm sure keeps you just as busy as anything else. So what did I miss? Did I get it all?
That's it. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That is a lot. Let's just, you've had a wild career.
I've had a wild career, yes.
Just talking with you, reading about it, the things you've done, you've gone from hosting private events, owning a restaurant, which as soon as you told me that, I reached out to my wife because I live in Noblesville, and I can't remember if we've been there. And I was like, have we been there? And I haven't heard back yet. So I'm guessing she's busy this morning. And then you got into education. And I kind of followed a path of, I had different careers, and then I got into education. And no matter what leads somebody into education, there's such a fulfillment in teaching. But I think when you come from another industry, that fulfillment as a teacher or in education is like multiplied hundreds and hundreds of times. So talk us through kind of a summarized version, because there's a lot, right? A summarized version of kind of the things you've done, and then what led you here? What called you to teaching? What led you to Cathedral?
Sure. So my undergrad was in theater and dance, so I thought I was going to just be a performer. Right out of college from Indiana State, I got a job at Winding Ridge Elementary teaching dance and drama for 1st through 6th grade. Okay. So I did that for a few years, and then my heart was really led to help these kiddos at that school, where it was a lot of poverty, lower income, single moms or dads. So then I went and got my master's in social work. My mom's a social worker, my grandma, so that was always like a probably career path. So I went and got my master's, so I did that for a little while.
I was wondering where the social work, do you think if you worked at another school, you would have taken that same route, or do you think working there?
No, probably not. Yeah, those kids
cool.
Really, there was so many of them were in the foster care system, and that's what I ultimately did in social work, was therapy for kids in foster care. So I had some of my previous students in my workload. Wow. So while I was getting my master's, I worked at St. Elmo Steakhouse as a hostess to pay for my schooling. Graduated my master's, did that for about 5 years, got totally burnt out. Went back to St. Elmo, got into the private events world. And then that caused that bug to be like, okay, I like being a leader. I love the fact of not bossing people around, but, being the boss lady, I guess. So then the opportunity to open up a franchise of Books and Brews fell in our lap, and I ran with that. So we opened up the Books and Brews in Noblesville. We did that for about 3 years. COVID killed us. So quit that, or closed our store in December of 2021. Okay. Spring of 2021, I was just working for a local real estate magazine, just doing marketing and like mental health break for 6 months. I was like, my dream job at the time closed. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, all right, something easy. Yeah. Miss Bender called me up and said, hey, this was like May of 2022, said, hey, theater director is open. I know. And all throughout my career, I've been choreographing for different schools, teaching at dance studios. So dance and theater has always been a constant, just smaller throughout.
Did you know Bender from kind of
St. Richards? Okay. I did their musicals for like 7 years when she was at St. Richards, on top of all my other 16 jobs. Right. So I came in that May or June and interviewed, and My first interview was with Mr. Blondie and Mr. Matthews, and I'm like, wow, this feels really right. This feels perfect. And then I interviewed with Mr. Moffat and Miss Barthel, and I'm like, if I don't get this job, I will cry, because it just felt perfect timing. I was where I needed to be with everything else in my life, and I really missed the theater and dance part. And here I am.
It's so funny because there's obviously I have much different industries experience, but the path is somewhat similar. I started at Fox 59. I did that for 13 months, I think, and it was brutal. And I'll say the only great thing about it is that's where my wife and I met.
No.
But then I left and had no idea what I wanted to do. So I ended up working at Seasons 52 and was waiting and serving. And then there were opportunities of kind of moving along in that path. And I didn't, that's when I started feeling like I don't feel this fulfillment, this calling. And so I ended up getting in, I worked at a autism center working with young kids for like another 10 months. And then worked at Garin Catholic. And it's funny that I was in a really great position and wasn't thinking of leaving, wasn't thinking of moving. And Mark Matthews actually reached out to me, and I was like, all right, I'll sit and talk with him.
Yeah.
And after talking with him, I think we Zoomed the first time before I came in and talked to Mark and Julie. But after talking to them, I was like, I now know this is what I want to do, when I had no plans to leave. And I was like, if I don't get this, I am it's going to ruin me. And so kind of Providence, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The time I spent at Ball State, I was video productions. And in order to get a couple credits, I had to take acting classes. There are some very strange activities, lessons that I know acting teachers love to kind of put on their students, whether it's to build chemistry, it's to, I don't know, just get comfortable with each other, and then to obviously grow as an actor. So I'll remember one that wasn't too weird, but it was a cool activity. I had a class of about 16 kids, and the teacher gave all of us the exact same dialogue. It was a partner activity, exact same dialogue. That was it. You make up the story, the situation, the scenario. And then you come in and you have to completely just with the words that everybody has the exact same words, you have to come up with this crazy scene. So like I said, not one of the craziest activities, but there's been a lot. As a basketball coach, I used to install some of my offense without a basketball. And I made the kids like look at each other and throw the ball to each other. So maybe it's dance, I don't know, choreographer, but as an acting teacher, dance coach, all of these things, do you have any favorite activity that you love to kind of throw at the students or the actors where it might be a little weird, might be a little strange, but it works?
For my intro to acting kids, I love doing the mirror exercise where they just stare each other in the eye and they're very close to each other, and then slow motion, they just move one hand or their head or a foot, and then they have to try to mirror each other without breaking eye contact. And for these little baby freshmen and sophomores, they're like, what do you mean I need to look at someone in the eye? It is so strange, and they giggle through it all, but then they get comfortable with each other, right? There's such it's
like you have to.
When you stare at someone in the eyes, there's that not chemistry or intimacy, but that connection, like that vulnerability that you now trust someone.
It's like some small thing you don't forget. Like at the end of the year, they're probably like, do you remember the first day we had to stare at each other?
Yes.
And it really does. I do. Yes. First day of school, I go through the attendance to make sure the kids are there. And then I make them all stand up. And I tell them, I'm going to say your name again. I'm going to stare you in the face. You're going to look at me. It's going to be a very awkward, soul-connecting thing. And I use it as a way to, try to memorize their names. But for them, it's got to be a strange experience. So I love that. The mirror. Anything else?
When I went to college for acting, Meisner was like the huge name back then, and it's a lot of repetition. So I'll make them sit and just repeat one word back and forth, 15 minutes. And they're like, what are we doing? But
like it's random word.
It's just, blue, 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 blue. And you're not supposed to change it intentionally, but you're supposed to really listen and hear. So if your partner changes the inflection, then you're supposed to change the inflection.
Okay.
And then if they mumble or something, you're like, did you say blue? Then it organically changes.
Okay.
It's it's just opening up the mind. But we did that a lot in college for hours. So 15 minutes is enough.
Whatever the word is, that kind of ruins the word after a while. You know,
Right.
like it doesn't sound
blue?
like a word. Oh, that's, yeah. Almost Maine is coming up in a
Yay.
few weeks, and we're going to get there, but we got to backtrack first. So,
Okay.
again, correct me if I'm wrong. Since you came to Cathedral, because we both came last year, Junie B. Jones, the most recent, which my 5-year-old, I think I told you a couple times, has never been more excited. It was like her first ever live
No.
production. Like, this isn't a movie. You can't talk. And so we got Junie B. Jones, SpongeBob, Puffs, Willy Wonka.
Yep.
There's a few rookie showcases, which I know you're kind of oversee, but you don't do a whole lot, which is
guide
awesome.
them.
So I think I got all the I don't want to say big ones, but big ones that you have been a part of. So
Yes.
walk us through all of those. Has there been a favorite play, a favorite experience that
Sure.
kind of jumps out with all the ones you've done so far?
Well, last year was difficult because I came in and the shows were already chosen.
Okay.
So Willy Wonka I've done before. Easy peasy, great cast. Puffs threw me for a loop and a wild ride because I've never read Harry Potter, and I watched the first Harry Potter movie and then was not my jam. So
See, as you said that, I don't think I realized, oh, that's a Harry Potter connection.
yeah,
Or I did,
the
and I just-
whole show was like inside jokes of Harry Potter. So
Okay.
I had to read the script like 50 times and I still didn't understand it. So the kids, thankfully, like Aline Davis and Sammy Moffat and Lugbat, they were so instrumental. Like, okay, this character is supposed to be this character, but they don't like this character who's supposed to be that character. And even after watching the show and we're completely done with it, I'm like, I still don't know what happened. So that one was difficult. SpongeBob was amazing. The kids did not seem excited for it because most of them didn't watch SpongeBob growing up, so they weren't like connected to it. Like my generation, our generation was like SpongeBob, yeah, duh.
Yep.
But once we got into rehearsals and they saw how perfectly the cast was, like Colin Chandler was Patrick Star.
Yep.
There is no other perfect person for that role. Then their fears and like him, like this isn't going to be fun, totally melted away day one, and we just had the best time.
That's awesome.
Every rehearsal I was in stitches. So
That's
it's been great. And Junie B. Jones was great too. I've done it 3 times before, but that one was student directed by Carrie, Veronica, and Lucy. So I kind of just sat back and helped maybe guide like this scene's not working. Maybe you should think of it this way. But I just kind of sat in the back and.
Well, that was by choice, but also, if people don't know, that was a crazy experience for you and Mr. Michael Moffat.
Yes.
What happened? I'm sure you've told that story thousands of times, but again, it's so crazy.
It's so crazy. So we had auditions like the first or second week of school, got it going. That next week we had our first core meeting, and Mr. Moffat, God bless his soul, was playing Duck Duck Goose with the kids. Slipped and fell on the stage and broke his femur. Not realizing that he had broken his femur, he walked himself out to the courtyard, took the core picture, came back to class, and I got back from the core pictures and I was like, "Why are you limping?" And he's like, something's wrong. I think I may have like bruised my hip or something." And then he went to the hospital and he broke his femur. So he was out for
the bone that like takes the impact of like a car accident to break? Because him and I talked and he'd said, he could have done that same movement 1,000 times. Like, that is nuts.
Yep. So we went through that process without Mr. Moffat. So our heads of the crews, like Noah Smiler, Sam Everly, Lugbat, Aline Davis, Lance Gratner, they just took control. They got the sets built. They got the crews under, because Mr. Moffat wasn't here.
Right.
He does a lot helping design and build and paint and hang. And these kids did everything. So then fast forward about a month later, and then Beautification Day, and it was the week before Tech Week, and I got impaled by a piano cart on my ankle. So
which is all the detail you need, because impaling is, because you talk the details and I asked, unfortunately. But yeah, impaled is
But a half inch from that Achilles. So someone was watching over me, but I think it just slowed me down enough to say, okay, take a breath, slow down.
Yeah.
Let go of everything else. And then the kids really had to take over during Tech Week. And it was beautiful. And Mr. Moffat came back the day before the show opened, and we had an amazing turnout.
Did you two sit down afterwards and think, we have to, I mean, did it change how much is student driven now? Or
No.
Is it,
No.
Thought, we can sit back more now. But
I think we know that we can fully trust our kids.
Yes.
In a time of crisis, our kids are amazing.
Yeah.
And no questions asked. They did everything. They did not complain. They did not, well, at least I didn't see them fighting or arguing, but they took control.
That's so cool. Obviously not the injuries, but having them step up. As I said, almost Maine, and you can give kind of a quick, this is what it is, but one of your, I don't know if it was an email conversation, but one of your descriptions specifically about the rehearsal was really cool to me, that it's, I know it's 9 couples, and you basically, again, correct me if I'm wrong, you basically said every couple's going to rehearse on their own because they don't all need to be together. I think that's, to me, I just thought, oh, that's so cool. I don't know why, but I just thought it was a really cool thing.
Very odd. It's not, I mean, it's unheard of that you have a full show where the characters don't overlap.
And are they ever going to?
No.
So you never have to do a, well, I mean,
and
rehearsal.
We're doing full cast rehearsals now because we're running the show.
Okay.
But up until now, I've only seen 2 people at a time.
So what is Almost Maine?
It's a little town in northern Maine, and this show is about the 9 different couples in different parts of their relationship. So we have like a first date, a first kiss, a potential breakup, stuff like that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And so you had said when you came in last year, you didn't get to pick the shows.
Nope.
Did you specifically pick this one? Do you kind of get senior leadership of, hey, these are my ideas, you can narrow them down? Or is it one of the, you'd like to be the boss, this is what we're doing?
So I made a list. I have a short list, a running list. So if something new comes up, I'm like, oh, this would be good in the next 5 years. But there was something about this show after watching our dramatic actors during the rookie showcase. I'm like, this would be a really good one, because from what I've heard and seen of our past shows, we tend to do comedies, which is safe, right? And it's easier for the actors and the director. Comedy is much easier than like really getting deep into these character stories. But I had full faith that these kids could really dig into it. So I've pulled out all my worksheets from college and done character analysis on all of these kiddos. And man, it's going to be good.
Are they excited?
I think so. Good. Yeah.
Very cool.
At least they think they are acting like they're excited.
Right. Well, hey, then that works. Now this is Q&A. This is a get to know you podcast. Yeah. And now we can go ahead. This is for those watching. Let's raise our hands if we have ever been in the Super Bowl halftime show with Madonna.
Me.
That is, I don't know.
So random
is the word, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really awesome. What year? I have to go back. I have to try to find you. Were you ever on TV? I'm sure you.
I'm on TV for like 10 seconds.
That's
but my
10 seconds
best friend, Katie Wright, she was in the back. So I was in the front row for our segment, and she was in the back, and she's like, oh, I'm never going to be on TV. She was on the whole time. The whole time. I was like, you are so lucky. But it was great.
10 seconds of Super Bowl TV versus like even a sitcom. That's insane.
It was such a random, at the time I was working a lot with Civic Theater in Carmel. Okay. And they sent out this like mass message to all the local theaters like, hey, if
So this was the one in Indy?
In Indy, yeah.
That makes sense.
2012,
something,
13, I don't remember.
Yes.
Sometime, a long time ago.
11, 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah. And I answered the call, and a bunch of us went out, and they went from like 1,000 people down to like 500 people, and then 500 down and down and down. So then our choir was like maybe 100 for that song. And then we had to go to every rehearsal, and I was teaching at Whiting Ridge at the time, and we signed NDAs. I could not tell them where I was going. We were doing like testing that week, and they're like, if you don't show up, you're going to be fired. And I'm like, listen, on Sunday at 7:15 p.m., you're going to realize where I've been. Period.
Why? That's worse than jury duty.
I don't know. It was just like they didn't want.
Was Madonna a surprise?
No, her other acts were surprises. Like CeeLo Green
Okay.
and Red Foo.
That's
But
so it's so cool to say that you were in a Madonna halftime show. I feel like it's even cooler to say you had to sign an NDA to be in this show. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a great experience. And she fixed my hair.
Did you meet? So you met her and you got
her,
to.
yes. I belly bumped with CeeLo Green on accident. He
Sure.
did not cross when he was supposed to, and I followed my path. So we ran full force into each other. And me being a little smart aleck, I was like, "Oh, I guess you need to go first." He laughed.
During the performance?
It was our last dress rehearsal, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be fired." Yep. And then Madonna fixed my hair and fixed my outfit, so it was a good time.
That is so cool.
So random.
All right, we'll play again.
'Kay.
Let's raise our hands if you have ever swam with sharks. Keep your hand up if it was unplanned. Keep your hands up if you were not in a cage. What?
Okay. So my lovely in-laws, they travel to St. John frequently, the islands, and they like to free snorkel out into the ocean.
I thought you were going to say they like to free sharks.
Yes, they capture them and free them.
Maybe
No.
don't tell this story. Okay.
So we just went out one day, and we're a few hundred meters from the shore, and I look down, and there is an 8-foot black-tip shark swimming right there. So I start screaming underwater, and started screaming underwater and saying lots of words and tried to drown my husband. And he's like, "Stop it. Like, stop. You're going to get us eaten." This thing was ginormous. I swam right back to the shore. I was like, I don't want to know where she's going. Because they're usually, I mean, we weren't that far from the shore, but this thing was huge.
I saw a video not too long ago. It was like a drone footage of ocean, beach, I don't know what, but you know, it had all the people kind of close to the shore, and it was captioned how close you get to sharks without knowing it, and it kind of highlighted all of them. It's one of those fears where if somebody says, "What's your biggest fear?" I don't think sharks is on my list until I have to talk and think about sharks. Like, I'm not going into the ocean much. That's terrifying.
I swam one more time after that, and then I got stung by jellyfish. So I was done that trip. I was like,
after that, you think, okay, if I go in, what is the next thing that's going to get me? I don't want to find out.
Yep.
If somebody is watching this, they probably need to know who Donny Osmond even is for the most part.
Sad.
And I have, it's funny, I probably even have a vague description. Like, I'd probably be wrong, but I know there's Donnie and Marie.
Yes.
So who is Donny Osmond to you? Is that a different question than who is Donny Osmond?
Yes. Donny Osmond is one of the Osmond brothers. He was famous in like the 50s and 60s for singing things like Puppy Love.
Is it that long? Okay.
He's my dad's age. He's in his 70s.
Okay. Oh.
4th grade, we danced to a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, which was him and his sister's huge song. And for some reason, I fell in love with this man.
Stuck with you.
In 4th grade, at that time, he was probably already in his 40s or 50s. I fell in love with him. Went to see him on Broadway when he was in Joseph. Went back to Broadway when he was in Beauty and the Beast. My junior year, I did a meet and greet with him, and I swore up and down he was going to fall in love with me and leave his wife of 30 years for a 17-year-old girl. Like, delusional in love with this man. I've met him like 13 times in Vegas, backstage passes. He has a grip on my heart. It's his voice. He's not even like conventionally handsome.
Times like 10, 11, 12, 13 that you met him, did he have any idea of like, oh my gosh, it's you again?
No, no. He meets hundreds of people a day.
Well, you never know. I've heard stories some people are weird about, like they know.
Yeah. No, but if you go listen to some of his songs, his covers of like love songs.
Who would you think, so like a freshman listens and watches this, is it like a Justin Timberlake of today? Or not even?
Probably even bigger.
Because like, you probably went through all that and they're like, who?
Right.
Donnie,
like,
what is this guy do?
Our parents' generation, like it was my mom's big heartthrob. So whoever is like the hottest singer right now, superstar, it would have been him in the 60s.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Donnie.
Justin Timberlake's, they're probably like, who?
Yeah. I guess that's...
I don't know anybody today.
Whether it's, I don't either. I don't either. Whether 2 years, 32 years down the road, whenever kind of your time at Cathedral has come and gone, what would you hope that you were remembered for?
Being authentic to myself and the students and creating the best theater program that we could have had here.
And you think you're on your way? Are you?
I think
so.
I think so. Year one is always tricky, especially with the theater program. They had 4 directors in a row, one year only. So for me to break that curse of sorts and come back for year 2, I think the kids are like, oh, okay, she does want to stay around and she is dedicated to us. And
I'm sure on the inside are screaming with enjoyment. Like I've been, when I was girls basketball coach, I was the 3rd coach in 3 years. And like the parents just, oh, you're back for a second year. Hallelujah.
Yes. Yeah. Consistency is so important for things like this. No, I mean, they need to learn and grow with someone that is consistent through their path. And whether it's basketball or the arts, it's really important for that consistency. Absolutely.
Could not agree more. Have you seen those? There's like pictures on social media that say like, tell me you're a teacher without telling me you're a teacher, or tell me you're a parent without telling me you're a parent. It's like a picture of a floor covered with toys, right? And it's like, these are my kids' toys that didn't pick it up. So I want you to think of a story, and I'll tell you the horrible example that I thought of this morning. I want you to tell me a story that basically tells me the kind of person you are without telling me exactly the kind of person you are. So while you're thinking, I'll bore you and the listeners with one that happened to me a couple weeks ago. So this is my personality in a horrible story. I was driving and I was stopped at a light, and I honestly cannot even remember the song that was on, but the weather was nice, like I said, a couple weeks ago. And so I started just very dramatically and enthusiastically singing and moving and doing all of these. And it was one of those where my head was already kind of slightly tilted, so I could peripherally see the car next to me. Young couple, I would guess like mid-20s. And I can see the driver look and then quickly look away, and I immediately know in my head he's getting his girlfriend or wife to look at me. And so she does one of those, and she leans forward. So I now know there are 2 people staring at me. Today's day and age, possibly about to pull
TikTok.
out a phone, right? I crank it up a notch, and I keep going, and I am just doing all of these just horrible things. And I look over at them, and I start doing this with them, and they are laughing hysterically as this man embarrasses himself. And so I was like, all right, that's my story. I don't care, because I don't know what my thought process is. If I have to embarrass myself, I just made 2 people laugh for 30 seconds that maybe had the worst day of their lives, that whatever, had the best day of their lives, and I just added it to it. That is my horrible story of, if you want to know exactly who Marc Quaranta is, he's the dude that's doing that. He is also the guy that has been caught probably 100 times, somebody thinking I'm waving to them, but I am waving to the dog that's in their car. I'm 35 years old, waving to dogs in cars, and people give me... I was like, no, your dog. So those are 2 quick stories.
Okay.
Did you think of one?
Okay. Well, I think anyone who knows me knows that I'm like 50-50 split, artsy, fartsy person, and then social worker.
Okay.
So like 2 polar opposite stories like came to my mind. Very similar to you. I don't get embarrassed easily. So the kids got to know me very quickly at our welcome assembly last year when they brought all of the new teachers down.
And all of the other new teachers, thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. And they made us dance to this TikTok song, and everyone's like, what do we do? So I just popped out in front of y'all and started leading a line dance.
Absolutely.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm the new dance coach and teacher. Let's go. I'm the artsy one, so I don't get embarrassed. I will pop up anywhere, anytime, and sing you a song. Off tune, on tune, I don't care. Let's just have a blast.
Can I just say when we did that, for some reason, because somebody had told me you're going to dance and you're going to have to dance, and if you don't, it's going to be worse. For some reason, I thought it was at the staff introductions. So if you remember when we were introduced, I started like dancing in front of the group because I thought that's the moment. And then when they pulled us down in front of the entire student body, I was like, oh, I'm dumb. This is where they want us to do it, not in front of all the adults.
Oh,
so
either
again,
time.
not embarrassed though.
Not embarrassed. My other story, actually, I think this is kind of goes to like where my heart is always at with our students and our staff. I was driving to school a couple weeks ago, and I live in McCordsville, so like 15 minutes away. And then on the side of Pendleton Pike, there was an older gentleman laying on the side of the road in a church parking lot. I could just clearly see that he had a white beard, white hair, and like clutching his leg. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So I was looking, and I pull up to the next light, and it's red, and I'm looking like somebody needs to pull over. He's obviously older, fallen. No one's pulling over. So I do a loop-de-loop, and I go to this parking lot at 7:40 in the morning. And I get out of my car, and I'm thinking, okay, this could go really bad really quickly. And I'm like, hey, are you okay? I was driving. You don't look like you're okay. And he was just delirious. He had been out there since like 3 in the morning. He had fallen. He had hit his head. He had fallen asleep, woken back up.
Gosh.
He thought he was in Greenfield, miles from Greenfield. So I was like, is there someone I can call? Couldn't get much out of him. So I called 911, and it took forever, it felt like. So I just sat down with him, and I talked to him, and I'm like, we're in a church parking lot, and I'm obviously a single lady, and he's an older man clutching his leg and his head, and no one pulls over in this like 45 minutes interaction. Police finally get there. EMTs finally get there. They think that he had a stroke because his blood pressure was so high. And then they finally found a number on him and called this emergency number, his wallet, and it was his daughter. And she's like, we've been looking for him. He has Alzheimer's, like early onset Alzheimer's.
Oh my gosh.
So he had walked from Greenfield to McCordsville, fallen, and no one had stopped to help this poor man. The only name I got was Jeffrey. He's probably in his 70s, older African-American male. I told the EMTs, I was like, I don't know him. Please take care of him. And he was not going to go to the hospital. And I looked at him, and I was like, Jeffrey, you don't know me. I don't know you, but I need you to go to the hospital. And he was like, okay, I'll go. So then I found out which hospital he's going to, and I called like 2 hours later. I'm late to my acting class, and I'm like crying. I'm like, what's going to happen to Jeffrey? And the kids are like, who's Jeffrey? And so I told them the story, and they're all like, so even now my acting kids are like, have you heard from Jeffrey? No, I don't know who Jeffrey is, but I ended up calling the hospital. I'm like, I know you can't tell me anything, but is he okay? Just tell me if he's okay. And the lady's like, yeah, he's getting tests done. His daughter's here. He'll be fine. But that's like my social work side. Like I don't care what danger it puts me in. If someone needs help, I'm going to step in. And that's
awesome.
My husband's like, what if he was gonna hurt you, or if it was I was like, I don't care if he was hurt. So and then Miss Barthel was awesome, and I was like, I'm gonna be late, like I need a sub till I get there.
That's like a restore faith in humanity type of story. That's really cool.
I can't help it. And like I've always seen my mom do that. She has such an empathetic heart and like service to others driven, and I've just always seen that and naturally take that on. But it drives my dad and my husband nuts because we put ourselves in some dangerous situations helping.
Well, that's honestly, well, not honestly, but probably why a lot of people don't stop is for you to not only want to, but then to actually step up and take action. That's really cool.
Well, and if anyone knows Jeffrey from Greenfield, let me know if he's okay.
That's crazy. On top of just more of about you. We've touched the present, the past a little bit. Let's go a little bit further back. What is your favorite childhood memory?
Favorite childhood memory? My grandma was really big into Christmas. Like Christmas was her holiday. Like she would deck the house out. She'd wear a little Mrs. Claus outfit. So my favorite memories were growing up having hot apple cider and her playing the piano and me singing Christmas tunes with her.
That's cool.
I love it. And I have her
piano.
When
I hear grandmas and Christmas, it's just...
I miss her so much. And like now that it's getting into holiday season, I'm like, but maybe I'll restart that with Layla and start playing the piano and she can sing little show tunes or something. I don't know. But
it's weird as a parent, you have a 6-year-old daughter. I have 5-year-old, 2.5-year-old daughter, and a 3-month-old son. It's weird to, like, my wife and I had a conversation last week about like starting traditions. It's It's like it has to be a conversation that like we should do this as a tradition. And what was it, Halloween? Because it was so cold, we were like, let's feed them soup real quick before we go out, or quickly when we get back. And so we sent texts back and forth, and our new holiday tradition or Halloween tradition moving forward is soup.
I love that.
Trick-or-treating, and then we set a blanket out on the floor and we go through all the candy while watching The Great Pumpkin. Oh, and I was like, just like that, a tradition kind of pops up.
Yep.
All right, where should people go to find more information about theater, dance, anything? And quickly, like, why should people join? Like, why should your, I don't know, maybe not so typical theater student, why should the athlete or the gamer or even the bookworm, like, why should people join theater? What's your like 30, 60-second pitch?
Well, we are a family. We are a hodgepodge of all over the board people. We do have athletes. We have the mathletes. We have the speech and debate kids. We have, everyone, the dancers, the show choir kids. So you just find your little niche, whether it's on the acting side or the tech side, and we will never turn you away. That's what I love about this program, that we will find a space for you. If you want to be on stage, you're going to be on stage, no matter if it's a walk-on role or the lead role. You're welcome. And I love that. And we can tailor it to everyone. It's just so much fun. It's a great end to your day. Just hang out with people that are going to love you for who you are. And we're just a little family. So come on down and be a part. And for Big Fish, it's going to be such a fun, over-the-top, like carnival-themed musical in the spring. So I need a lot of people.
Okay.
So all those sports ball players that want to like do flips and tricks and
there you go.
I need you. I need the
Now you have a
athletes.
place to do it.
Yeah.
Almost Maine, November 16th.
We open next Friday. Yeah.
Next Friday. So there's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. All right, everybody. Almost Maine.
Yay.
Next week. Mrs. Jordan Fox, thank you so much
Of
for
course.
hanging out and talking. That was, you are random. I think that's the word. You're a random person.
Yep.
And I agree with it, and I love it. So thank you for being here. And for everybody else, here is a nice little Irish goodbye for you. Irish Connection Q&A. A different guest, different story every day. Coming at you from the unified media, adding stories to the encyclopedia. Have you ever done anything incredible? Got a recipe that's delicious and edible? Want to talk about diversity and unity? Come and tell it to the Cathedral community. Train all year for a 5K race? Show a horse and take first place? Q and a coach, Q and a teacher, Q and a priest or a sister or a preacher. Students and teachers, but there's so much more to that. We got musicians, robotics, a quarterback. Did you teach someone? Did you learn a lesson? Senior, junior, sophomore, freshman. This theme has lost all sanity. Let's meet a member of the Irish family. I've got nothing else to say, so let's just start.